Thank you for joining us. Frozen shrimp sold at Walmart now under an FDA warning. The concern, a batch imported from Indonesia that tested positive for traces of radioactive material. Our Emily Deanne is here to tell you what you need to know about potentially dangerous.
If you shop the frozen seafood aisle, you might be reeling in more than you expect. You may want to watch this before you preheat the oven. Because once you find out what's hiding behind those wild-caught labels, your appetite might disappear faster than melting ice chips. Today, we're counting down 7 frozen fish dinners to avoid, and 2 that are actually good for your heart. Coming in at number 7, the skillet sizzle that sneaks in a day's worth of salt. Bertolli shrimp scampi and linguine looks like restaurant night at home. The bag shows plump shrimp, glossy noodles, and that golden garlic butter swirl that makes you grab a pan. Then the math lands. About 2,050 milligrams of sodium per serving, 5 grams of saturated fat, 1 gram of trans fat, only about 12 grams of protein. That is not a win for your heart. That is a trap in a pretty pouch. Butter or blood pressure? Pick one. Here is the betrayal. The promise is easy elegance. The reality is a tiny shrimp count swimming in a deep pool of salty sauce. You get processed add-ins that stretch flavor while they stretch your numbers. That sodium count is close to a full day in one plate. If you take ACE inhibitors or a diuretic, this is the wrong kind of thrill. Sodium pulls water, pressure rises, rings feel tight, sleep gets loud. You will not believe that sodium panel. Let's talk senses. The steam smells buttery at first, then sharp. Not clean garlic, more like garlic-scented salt fog. The sauce clings to the spoon like glue and coats your lips with a slick film. The noodles glisten in the pan with a greasy shine, like they got sprayed. Toss them and watch the sauce paint the sides in thick streaks. It looks rich. It eats heavily. After a few bites, your mouth feels coated, and your throat starts asking for a glass of water that it will not stop asking for. Real notes from the table tell the same story. Shoppers describe a salty finish and a dry mouth. One person called it good flavor, but needed a second glass of water with the dinner. Another said the shrimp were few and small compared to the amount of sauce. When regular customers start planning water breaks, the sauce is not helping you. It is managing you. Why is the protein weak for a seafood meal? Because the star is not the shrimp. It is the sauce. The creamy gloss makes the portion feel bigger while the shrimp count stays modest. That would be fine if the numbers were gentle. They are not. Add bread, add parmesan, add a side salad with bottled dressing. You have just stacked salt on salt and capped it with more fat. Your night is now a pressure experiment. 2 quick consequences people actually report. First, nighttime thirst. You finish the plate, feel fine for an hour, then wake at 2 in the morning for a kitchen trip and a headache. Second, next day bloat. The scale creeps up from water, not fat, and your ring feels stubborn. That is the sodium talking, not the shrimp. So what is the fix if scampi is your love language? Buy plain frozen shrimp. Heat a skillet with olive oil and sliced garlic. Toss in the shrimp with a pinch of salt, black pepper, and a squeeze of lemon. Add whole grain linguine and chopped parsley. That gives you real aroma, real bite, and control. If you want more richness, finish with a teaspoon of butter for the whole pan and let the lemon carry the flavor. You will taste shrimp, not a salt lab. Ask yourself, is the skillet sizzling for you or at you? Name and shame in the comments if you have tried this one and woke up dry-mouthed. Did the sauce taste like scampi or like a salt bath with noodles? That plate was loud with salt. Up next, the one that hides a dairy bomb under a shrimp label. And yes, the numbers get even heavier. Cracking number 6, mac and cheese wearing a shrimp cost, private selection. Wild-caught shrimp. Mac and cheese sells gourmet seafood comfort in a black box with steam curls and big shrimp on top. Then you read the back. About 2,000 milligrams of sodium for the package. 13 grams of saturated fat. That is your whole day of sat fat gone in one tray, with a salt bill to match. Comfort or cholesterol? The ingredient list runs long. Stabilizers, flavor boosters, cream-heavy sauce that smothers everything. Any good from the shrimp gets lost in the goo. You end up with pasta and dairy carrying the load while your numbers carry the cost. Pull it from the oven and look closely. The top blisters into an orange crater. The edges harden into a salty cheese lake that sticks to the foil like glue. Stir the middle and watch the sauce stretch in ropes. You hunt for shrimp and find small pieces hidden under macaroni drift. The smell is rich at first, then turns heavy, like a cafeteria steam table at closing. Here is the part that hits the body. 13 grams of saturated fat in one sitting pushes LDL up over time. Pair that with about 2 grams of sodium chloride for the tray, and you have a 1-2 punch. If you take blood pressure meds or watch your cholesterol, this is a bad date. Salt pulls water, pressure rises, sleep turns restless, morning rings feel tight. Shoppers report the same. Cheesy, but I felt puffy all night. Good flavor, woke up dry-mouthed. One person said they could not find the shrimp under the cheese. When a seafood meal turns into a dairy block, the shrimp label is just a costume. You can do better at home in 20 minutes. Boil whole wheat elbows in no-salt stock for flavor without the salt spike. Keep a small handful of sharp cheddar to finish, not a mountain. Pan-sear plain frozen shrimp in olive oil, garlic, and lemon. Fold peas into the pasta. Slide the shrimp on top. Season at the table. You get real bite, real protein, and control over the shaker. Is this comfort or a lab that melts? Name and shame in the comments if you bought this tray and felt the bloat. Did you find shrimp or just orange sauce? Enough with sauce traps. Let's talk breading that eats the fish. Sliding into 5, a breadcrumb festival with a shrimp somewhere inside. Kroger Crunchy Butterfly. Shrimp looks like game night gold. Big photo, hungry wording, crunchy in bold. Then the facts hit. About 12 grams of fat and 400 milligrams of sodium per 3 ounces. That is a tiny serving, not a full plate. There are additives too, like sodium tripolyphosphate, which holds water so the shrimp looks plump while your totals climb. Open the box and shake out the tray. Orange crumbs scatter like confetti. In the oven, the oil pops and spits. Pull a piece, take a bite, and the crust shouts while the shrimp whispers. The coating gives a loud crunch. Then your teeth hit a thin, rubbery center. Dip it, and you are basically eating breaded salt and sauce. This is the trick. The bag promises a tail-on treat. The reality is more crust than meat. The batter has space for salt and cheap volume. You eat more to taste shrimp. You add sauce because the inside is dry. Salt stacks fast when you chase flavor this way, and that is before your second handful. Health picture time. High sodium per small portion nudges pressure up. Breaded and fried lean prep adds fat you did not plan for. If you sit on a diuretic or an ACE inhibitor, that combo makes the cuff read higher by bedtime. It is not a medical emergency. It is a steady push in the wrong direction. Reviews keep repeating one phrase, mostly breading. Some call the shrimp small and lost in batter. That is the point. Bread is cheaper than shrimp. Crunch sells. You pay for a sound, not a protein. You do not have to skip crispy forever. Try this at home. Toss plain frozen shrimp with a teaspoon of olive oil, paprika, garlic powder, and black pepper. Air fry until the edges curl and the centers go opaque. Finish with lemon. Mix Greek yogurt, pickles, capers, and a squeeze of lemon for a fast tartare. You get crunch that does not drink your blood pressure. 2 more clues you can see. When these sit on a paper towel, the corner turns orange and stays greasy. When you break one in half, the coating flakes off in a shell while the shrimp pulls away shiny and wet. That is not a fresh seafood feel. That is armor hiding a small center. Do you want shrimp or a bread bowl with tails? Quick pause before the next freezer shock. If this is eye-opening, hit subscribe now so you don't miss the rest of the countdown. Trust me, the worst sauce tricks are still ahead, from batter to bottle. Next up, fillets in a beer jacket that talk about quality while the salt takes the wheel. At 4, the fillet that sells whole while the batter does the talking. Gorton's beer, battered 100%. Whole fillets flashes the words trusted catch and wild-caught pollock. Sounds noble. Then the label shows about 450 milligrams of sodium for 2 fillets, padded carbs from batter, and not much protein for a main. Whole fillet, hollow promises. But here's the real shocker. The ingredient line brings modified starches and binders that fluff the coat while the fish stays small. You buy seafood, you get a bread jacket. The protein to breading ratio leans backward, so you eat more to feel full. That is how a quick dinner turns into a salt climb with weak staying power. In the oven, the batter puffs into a tan shell. Tap it and you hear a thud. Break it, and a thin wisp of steam carries a fryer leftover smell. Dab the surface with a napkin, and it turns translucent with oil in seconds. The crust glitters. The fish inside looks narrow and shy, like it retreated from the heat. Viewers in forums keep repeating the same notes. Crispy but thin fish. Needed sauce to taste like anything. Sauce means more salt, more sugar, more calories on top of a meal that already started in a hole. Who benefits from that? Not your heart. Let's talk numbers and bodies. A carby coating plus that sodium means a fast blood pressure rise, especially if you are on a diuretic or an ACE inhibitor. The protein is light for a main, so fullness fades, and late snacks creep in. That is the quiet way a freezer pick nudges your day off course. Watch the fork test. Press down, and the shell splinters while the pollock slides, leaving a gap like an empty room in a house of bread. Try to flake it, and you pull ribbons of coating instead. The fish is there, but the batter does the talking. Fish costume, bread voice. You have better, easier options. Bake plain pollock or cod with lemon, dill, black pepper, and a drizzle of olive oil. 10 minutes until it flakes. Mix plain Greek yogurt with mustard and a touch of honey for a sharp table sauce. Salt at the end, not in the factory. Real fish flavor shows up when you stop shouting at it with batter. Are you paying for seafood or the crunch soundtrack? Name and shame below if this one felt more jacket than a fish. Did you need sauce just to taste it? If that coat fooled you, wait until you see sticks that are mostly crust. Cracking the top 3, the school cafeteria classic that forgot the fish. Van de Kamp's fish sticks promise kid-friendly protein and easy bake nights. What you get is about 440 milligrams of sodium per 6 sticks with only around 10 grams of protein. Double the serving, which people do without thinking, and the salt jumps while the protein still limps. But here is the twist. The breading is thick, the fillet is thin, and the ratio is upside down. That turns a seafood dinner into a salty snack with training wheels. Parents write that their kids love the crunch but leave the pale center. That crunch is where the numbers hide. You won't believe what's lurking inside. After baking, the sticks look puffy and golden. Press one with a fork and the crust flakes off in sheets, like brittle bark. The center is pale and pasty, a narrow rectangle that smears when you press. Steam has a stale fryer smell, not a clean ocean. Set one on a paper towel and watch a wet circle bloom underneath. Reports claim the coating is so thick that you need ketchup or tartar to get through. Add those and your sodium climbs again. The meal that was supposed to be simple turns into a sauce parade that your heart did not order. Let's tie this to real bodies. The poor protein-to-salt ratio is a problem for anyone trying to keep blood pressure steady. If you take a diuretic, a salty bread coat pulls water and triggers thirst later. If you count on protein for fullness, these sticks do not deliver. You end up eating more breading or chasing dinner with a second plate. That is not a plan, that is drift. Picture the bite. The crust crunches loudly, then gives way to a gummy interior that clings to your teeth. It feels like the fish was pressed into shape and hidden in crumbs. Close your eyes, and you could be eating a bread nugget with a fish postcard inside. But there is a fix that keeps dinner sane. Buy plain frozen cod or pollock. Slice into fingers. Dredge in beaten egg white and panko. Bake on a rack so air moves all around. Season with lemon, paprika, and a light shake of salt at the table. The result is real fish that flakes, with crunch that does not steal your totals. Parents in shopper groups said that a simple swap stopped the post-dinner thirst. Meal preppers reported that homemade fingers reheat without turning soggy. Both groups spent the same time in the kitchen, just less time chugging water at midnight. Are you serving protein, or are you serving a crispy wrapper with a fish rumor? Ever bitten one and found more coating than fish? Tell us how many sticks you needed before you felt full. Now, the butterfly you will recognize with a salt tail, you will not. One more thing. Check the back panel for serving size tricks. 6 sticks sound like a lot until you lay them out on a plate and see how small they are. Most teens eat 10. At that point, you can cross the 700 milligram mark before ketchup. That is more sodium than some fast food burgers. For a tray of crumbs. If the box sells family smiles, the nutrition line sells the truth. Read that line before the oven door even opens, please. Runner-up for regret number 2, the party platter that parties with your blood pressure. CPAC butterfly shrimp shows you a golden box, a cheerful dip cup, and the promise of light, crispy, and ready. Then you read about 500 milligrams of sodium in a 3-ounce serving with 14 grams of fat. Here is the trap. The breading hits first, salt forward, so your tongue wakes up while your numbers climb. Game night plates are big, so hands keep grabbing. 2 or 3 servings slip by before the timer dings. That can be half a day of sodium by the time the remote changes hands. Water retention follows. Rings feel tight. Ankles feel stiff. Sleep turns jumpy. Watch the sheet pan. Grease freckles the metal in little moons. Tails curl and leak clear oil beads that skitter when you tilt the tray. The first bite snaps loud, then settles into a heavy salt echo that lingers past the sip of soda. The shrimp inside looks thin and tired, a pale crescent trapped in a crust that does all the talking. But here's the real shocker. The volume encourages overeating. A party bag feels bottomless, so no one counts. That is how one appetizer turns into a late-night salt march. Real-world notes pour in. Great for guests, terrible for my ring size. Tasted good, woke up parched. These are normal people who thought shrimp meant light. The brand promised easy. The panel delivered numbers that do not fit a weeknight. Health matters here. High sodium food late in the day is a poor match for blood pressure meds. Diuretics work until a snack overrides them. Add a few beers and you get a wide pulse graph and a 2 a.m. water run. If the kidneys are sensitive, the swing feels even sharper. Need a fix that keeps the party? Grill skewered shrimp with chili, lime, and a brush of olive oil. It takes minutes. Sprinkle salt at the end so you control it, not the factory. Serve a yogurt, herb dip, and lemon wedges. People still get crunch and heat, but you keep the totals on a leash. Are you hosting friends or hosting bloat? Name your worst party shrimp below. Who else saw the ring test fail? Our #1 skip looks harmless. The sauce says otherwise. Taking the top spot, noodles in a glossy sauce that drinks your daily sodium. P.F. Chang's home menu shrimp. Low Mind sells restaurant-style balance and date-night ease. A serving of land has nearly 690 milligrams of sodium before you add anything. The pouch leans on a processed, sweet-salty glaze that sticks to pans and numbers alike. Shine on the noodles, spike on the cuff. Let's pull the screen back. Veg and shrimp sound healthy. The story sounds balanced. Then the sauce steals the show. You can watch it paint a sticky film on the skillet, then cling to every strand like varnish. The steam smells sweet-salty. The noodles squeak as they tangle. It looks glossy. It eats heavily. Viewers report the same night. Needed water all night. Shrimp were there. Sauce did the heavy lifting. That is the pattern. Low protein for the portion, high sodium in the bath, and a finish that makes you thirsty for hours. Why is this a bad fit for blood pressure and kidney goals? Sodium pulls water. Kidney systems chase balance while the heart works harder. If you are on a diuretic, this kind of dinner writes its own late-night storyline. Wake up, drink water, try to sleep, repeat. Your morning cuff tells the tale. There is also the sugar-salty creep. The sauce is designed to taste good fast. Sweet notes hit early, so you eat faster. Salt locks the finish. You end up polishing the pan without feeling full, then scouting the freezer for dessert. It is not your fault. It is designed. You won't believe what's lurking inside. The add-ins sound wholesome, but the macro math does not support a strong meal. For the most part, the protein is modest and the sodium is bold. That is a lopsided plate. Here is the clean fix. Stir-fry plain frozen shrimp with garlic, ginger, and broccoli. Toss with low-sodium tamari and rice vinegar. Finish with sesame seeds, scallions, and a dash of chili oil. You get aroma, heat, and snap without drowning the meal. Salt stays on your schedule. Do you want glossy noodles or a calm cuff? Ever cooked this pouch and needed a water bottle on the nightstand? Tell us. Before the two brands that actually earn a spot in your freezer, a quick note: if you see frozen seafood wrapped in breading or swimming in a shiny sauce, flip the bag and look for the sodium number first. Under 150 milligrams for a plain 4-ounce fish is a good sign. Over 400 for a small serving is a flag. Labels tell the truth faster than any ad line. Ready for the safe picks? One more thing about the party platter. Leftovers do not help. Reheated pieces sweat in the oven, the crust softens in patches, and small puddles of salty oil collect in the corners of the pan. You taste stale fryer notes on the second day and still get the same sodium hit. That is not a value. That is paying twice for the same mistake. Better plan the amount you actually need, then switch to grilled skewers for the refill tray, and a rapid check for serving games. 3 ounces is about 5 or 6 breaded pieces. Most people eat double without thinking. Plates get loaded, conversations run, and the count vanishes. For the lo mein, look at the fine print on weight. A serving of around 229 grams sounds big, but the sauce carries much of that figure. The noodles carry the glaze, not the nutrients. If you split the bag with a partner, you still take a heavy sodium load. Seniors, people on heart meds, and anyone managing swelling will feel this one fast. Now, not every frozen fish is a trap. Skip the breading, skip the syrupy sauces, and skip the water-boosting solutions, and seafood goes back to doing its job. Protein climbs. Omega-3s show up. Sodium stops calling the shots. We hunted for single-ingredient fillets, low sodium, and clean labels that let you season on your terms. These picks respect your numbers. They cost about the same as the dressed-up boxes, but they do not make you pay later with thirst, swelling, or a dry mouth at night. Ready to stock a freezer that helps your heart. 2 brands prove you can have fast seafood, steady energy, and a calm pulse without sauce tricks or breadcrumb noise, truly. Bonus pick 1, the fillet that works as hard as your cardiologist. Aquastar. Wild Pacific salmon fillet keeps it simple and strong. A 4-ounce portion brings about 23 grams of protein with roughly 55 milligrams of sodium. The ingredient list is one word: salmon. That is it. Here is why that matters. You get omega-3s that support your heart and brain without a salt toll. Portions stay consistent, so plates are easy to plan for seniors and anyone on a routine. It bakes quickly from frozen, so weeknights still work. You are not waiting for a thaw, and you are not stuck with a sauce packet that drags your numbers. Open the pouch and you get a gentle ocean smell, not a sharp freezer note. The flesh looks clean pink. As it cooks, the flakes separate into moist layers. Pan juices stay clear rather than greasy. No oily film, no sticky glaze, just fish that eats like dinner, not like a carnival sample. People back this up. Stayed juicy without a sauce. The family ate it without complaints. That is the kind of feedback you want from a plain fillet. Cook it in 2 easy ways. Set each piece on foil with lemon slices, dill, and a teaspoon of olive oil. Fold and bake until it flakes. Or air fry with fresh pepper and finish with a spoonful of mustard yogurt on the plate. Salt at the table so you stay in control. Want smoke? Brush with a little olive oil and lay it on a hot grill for a few minutes per side. The edges are bronze, but the inside stays tender. Use leftovers cold over greens with cucumbers and a squeeze of lemon. You get protein, color, flavor without the salt drag. Prefer something lean and mild. The next fillet is your blank canvas. No preservatives, no booster solution. The label stays clean so the sodium panel matches reality. Ready for a reliable freezer anchor? Keep 2 for weeknights now. Bonus pick 2, the cod that lets your spice rack do the talking. Simple truth. Wild-caught Pacific cod loins give you lean protein and a clean slate. A 4-ounce serving lands near 19 grams of protein with about 115 milligrams of sodium. The label is short and clear. Each loin is wrapped on its own, which keeps the texture steady and thaws easily. There are no strange additives and no booster solutions. You can bake, steam, or pan roast in minutes. That means dinner stays calm even when the day runs long. The sensory test is kind. Bright white flakes lift with a fork. The aroma is mild and pleasant. Layers stay tight after cooking. There is no oily film on the plate. It eats light, so you do not leave the table heavy or thirsty. Real-world notes match the panel. Kids ate it with lemon. Great for fish tacos without the bloat. People notice how they feel later. No swollen fingers, no dry mouth. Wake up, just steady energy. Use it in 2 ways. First, sheet pan cod with cherry tomatoes, olives, and capers. Drizzle with olive oil, then season with a small pinch of salt. Second, taco night. Rub with chili, cumin, and lime. Roast and tuck into tortillas with cabbage and pico. Want a third option? Steam with ginger and scallions, then finish with a splash of low-sodium tamari and rice vinegar. Good food does not need a sticky glaze to taste like dinner. For shoppers watching blood pressure, this is a smart baseline. You control the salt at the plate, not the factory. For parents, the mild taste wins. For seniors, the predictable sodium helps meds work the way they should. And for athletes, the lean macro profile fits a recovery meal without a sauce crash. Care for a simple test. Leave 1 cooked piece on the cutting board for 5 minutes. It holds shape and moisture instead of weeping orange grease. Dinner, not damage. Freezer fixed. One last thing before you shop. Some bags help your heart, others help your blood pressure spike. What's the worst frozen seafood you've cooked? Greasy, salty, or chewy like a sponge? Tell us below. Want more grocery truth? Click on the left and subscribe so your next freezer haul is actually safe.